So I am delighted, of course, that Nearlife is a Moodle certified integration, and that's one of the reasons why I'm joining the webinar today. And that means that Moodle has assessed and certified Nearlife in terms of user experience, reliability, security, and performance standards so that you can implement it within your LMS with absolute confidence. And we're going to hear a bit more about how that integration works today as well. So we'll be glad to take any questions you may have at the end. You can use the Q&A facility on the webinar there. So please do ask any questions that you have, and we'll make sure those are answered by our Nearlife colleagues as we end the webinar. So without further ado, I will hand over to Mike to make a start.
Thank you very much, Liz. Yeah, it's very much hopefully a hands-on session today, just to show you some kind of practical tips and maybe give you some ideas as well on how things, can be approached in terms of interactive content. So I'm going to just quickly turn off my video so it doesn't distract me while I present. But as Liz said, we can hopefully take any questions at the end. So I'll dive in. If everyone can see my screen here, I hope. So the platform is very much a cloud-based tool. It's designed to, really make the creation of interactive and immersive content very simple and easy. So if we go here, again, just to show you the basics of setting up a project, you just can have as many projects as you want. It's very simple, very straightforward. So if we add a new scenario, again, scenario is just the kind of the currency we work with. The scenario is really going to be the interactive piece of content that you publish in Moodle. So it's really the end result. It very much kind of like started out as a video-based tool, but as you see today, you can really use any media you want, whether it's slides, whether it's video, 360 immersive images or video. So this is the canvas where you're going to start. And really, I would say very top level this, but there are two broad categories of interactive or immersive projects we see. One might be something like this. So you're going to kind of drag and drop your nodes here. And these nodes I'm placing on the diagram or on the canvas here are really placeholders for your media files. So whatever media you plan to use, whether, again, slides, video, whatever it might be, this is going to be the framework for them. So you might have one structure that might look something like this. So effectively like a kind of a branching structure. I would call that kind of a narrative-based game or experience where you're going to make choices, you're going to navigate along a pathway. And another structure may look something more like this, and I would call this more explorer or tour based. So this could be a topic, it could be a physical tour, whatever it might be. But I always give the analogy of like a museum where maybe this is the entrance hall, then you go and look at natural history here, or you go and explore Egyptology, whatever it might be. You are in the entrance hall and you're exploring. So it's more map-like, and the other is more like a dynamic narrative-based branching structure. And the way, at the moment, you can see I'm just dragging these nodes around, but the way you connect them is via the use of overlays. So you can add different options. You can add button choices. You can change the font and color of all these. And you basically, whatever overlay you use, buttons are just one. I'll show you a couple more in a moment. But you basically decide what happens when someone clicks on the interaction. So that could be, in this case, navigating to a new sequence. So let's say you make a choice, you go this way, you make a different choice, you go this way. You can choose your different pathways, or you can do other things like show pop-up information. You can show you can track it as achievements. We'll go into some of these details as we go through the webinar, but needless to say, there are different overlays. You can even have, maybe ask people a question. You can have prompts and add text. So I will jump out of this just to show you a built project. This is like a case study we've used, and I'd say this is kind of use case 101. This is for an organization called St. John Ambulance here in the UK. I think they're in Australia, Canada, elsewhere as well. But this was like a first aid scenario, very, very much a classic use case for our tool, in that it's a choice decision-based scenario. And you can see here, you can add other features around countdown, you can have score, you can add various elements to make it more game-like. But what we've done here, this is a film scenario. So these are video clips. And all you're doing, once you've uploaded them, you're going to drag and drop them into the scenario. So it's pretty straightforward. So if I press play here, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just to show you, you've got the basic options. You see somebody collapse, then you've got to decide what to do. And similar to the example we're building out, it's going to navigate. You can see there's a time on here as well. It's going to go down the pathway that you choose. So classic that some of you will be familiar with, like branching scenario-based approach, but very easy to design, add in the video clips. But you can use, again, whatever media you use, just to show you, again, in terms of the basics, another couple of examples of how the overlays can work. So we see that people quite like to use tools like Beyond or other animation tools with our platform, just because it's easy to make videos or animations. Canva's another, things like Synthesia. So we see a lot of people creating videos and content in other platforms, uploading them here and using them to build out. So this one, I'm just showing you because you can see here, you can decide when the interactions appear. You've got these timelines, and you're going to click on these, in this case, hotspots to navigate through. So instead of button choices, you've got hotspots. So it's just another way of creating the interactions. And again, you've got a choice of what you can do. You can add feedback here. But this, if I just show you very quickly, it goes through and you're, in this case, it's like a health and safety. This guy's not wearing a hard hat. So we click on this. You've got to spot what's wrong. There we go. You've spotted that. And then if we go through to the next one, you're a nurse and you're going to click who you're going to treat first. So again, the overlays, the hotspot areas. So you're engaging directly with the video rather than clicking button options. This guy doesn't look well, so we picked him. And if you play it through, actually, you can see here, you can give this contextualized feedback report to kind of understand and give specific, responses in terms of what the learner has been through. So those are the very basics. I'm sure we'll dive into a little bit more, but in terms of getting started, that's kind of how you begin things. You build your diagram, you put your overlays on and put them over the videos.
That's great. Thanks so much, Mike. It seems really straightforward to start a project, and it's lovely to see that St. John's Ambulance example as well, particularly given, Near Life's focus on the humanitarian response sector. So it's really lovely to see how that actually plays out for a real user. Now, I know that gamification is an important element of Near Life. Can you show us how the advanced gamification features work?
Yeah, so that is, what we've seen there is really a case of like your classic decision-based scenario. So whether you're clicking a hotspot, you're clicking decision buttons, you're branching according to the choices made, but you can actually have like a deeper layer of interaction. So this, I hesitate to use another Beyond one here, but just happened to have done a few webinars and projects with them in the past. This was like a promotional thing with Beyond, but it was like a game where you're clicking on different interactions. It was for Halloween, in fact, but what you've got here, you can track things as achievements, and then you can set conditions against that. So as well as just having an interaction, show you information through a pop-up or navigate you to a new piece of media, you can also track these interactions and allow that to influence the outcome of things. Like, so you can make more complex games and simulations. So just to show you in this case, what we've got here in this mini game is you kind of crash your car, so you can check the trunk of the car, and then when you click on, I can click on the map, or I can click on here on the torch, and it's telling me I found a torch. You can have this inventory showing it or not, but you can see that you're tracking these interactions that you've made. So when I continue, if I go to visit the house here, again, not to play the whole thing, but I can then, it's like a mini adventure game, basically. So this can be applied in learning, of course. But in this case, if I go to the cellar, just to show you the basic concept of it, it's pitch black in the cellar, but it knows that I have the torch from previously. So it's basically showing me the correct outcome because it's tracked that. So it allows you to be a bit more sophisticated. There's one here actually I had open earlier. I was just looking at this before the webinar, but in terms of achievements and conditions, this is kind of an interactive scenario that actually you play it through. So if you go here, I'll just play it through actually just to show you the basics. I won't dwell on it, but this is like a mini, I think this is built using Canva, so another example of using content. So you can add achievements pretty easily. And then when we go here, it's kind of an instructional thing, this, but so I won't go through all the details, but then you set a condition based on the achievements that you've got. So this little game has you ask you a question, and then you can pick the correct option. So what is Japan's national flower? So in this case, I'm going to get it right, cherry blossom. And then it will allow me to open the chest. So I click on that and it tells me congratulations. So if I go to the scene where the question is, you can see here on this, these are buttons that are creating it. This whole slide is based in Canva, but you can see here, it's saying that I've got the key. So it will track that. And then when we go to the scene with the chest, you can see that there's a condition here. There's two overlays on top of each other. So if I click this one, you can see that the condition is linked to the display. So basically, if you have the achievement, then you also can get the condition to show that interaction. So, and those rules, without getting too detailed into this at this stage, but basically you can set achievements that can either impact on what you see in terms of interactions and choices you have, or you can even kind of set it to have default outcomes. So it's quite easy to get to grips with, but then you can make things quite complex, and it can work with puzzles and quizzes and all the rest of it, even things like surveys, because you can track people's choices. You chose mostly A's, so it's pretty simple to use. But those are the basics of when we talk about gamification or the advanced gamification, that's really what we're talking about within our tool.
Great, thanks, Mike. I really want to know what's in the basement of the spooky house, so maybe we can find that out before the end of the webinar.
Very,
But
very important.
thank you so much for that. I know VR and immersive learning is a big part of what you all focus on as well at Near Life. And I know we did a feature on how Moodle users in healthcare have adopted Near Life for developing simulations and interactive scenarios. Does the VR authoring work in the same way?
So it's similar. I mean, so basically, we like to think of the tool being like a design, build, and share tool. So you can design in this, you can build your scenario, and then you use the media that's most appropriate. There are some slight nuance differences in terms of how the VR elements work, but the basics are the same. This is a World Health Organization project. It's just a mini sample of the beginning of it, but you can see here you have a choice of media, so you can actually use different VR media. What you can see, you can use 2D, but you can have 180 mono, stereo, or full 360. So this is 180. The difference with 180, just very quickly, is that if you can kind of I'll just pause it, but you can you just see the front half of the sphere. So if it's narrative based, like this one is, 180 works well. If it's more of a exploratory scenario or something where you've got to really interact with the space, then 360 works well. So again, but the creator, the author, has the choice to use the correct media for the scenario they're building. But it works very similar. So you can share directly in Moodle, and it's web based, so it uses web XR. So you don't need to have any technology. You could launch from Moodle in a headset with this and have a full VR experience. So this one is a classic decision-based one, similar to the St. John Ambulance one I showed you, in that you're presented with some choices and options. So I can play on my laptop, I can click these, but if I'm in a headset, I can use my controller to select one of these. So it works in a straightforward way. This is as I say, decision-based scenario. I'll show you just a couple of different features in VR, but this is basically your classic branching structure again, use case 101 for our tool. But it's using VR media. So you can see that the structure is very similar, but you've uploaded the media in this case, which is a VR based. So just to show you another example of like a VR one. If I go to this tool, so this is using AI generated 360 images, not with our tool. We do have some AI generated images you can use our tool, but these are the 360 ones. So this is like a space station tool, so a different use case than the branching. And you can see here you can have these things like your icons to create your interactions, because overlays can also trigger overlays can also trigger the like other overlays basically. So in this case, you can see that it's got a video as an overlay trigger, and you can move that around. So you can have a pop-up of a 2D video within the you can have a pop-up of the 2D video within a 360 space. So if I play this, and I'm looking around here, I can navigate, or I can, if I click this, I can play this video in the
Welcome to the decontamination
360
room.
space. So
This is a video.
so it's that's a feature that's just in VR, but otherwise, aside from those kind of nuanced differences about placing your overlay images or your overlay videos in a 360 environment and controlling it, it basically does work the same way. So it's really just another way of presenting your content, but that's how it works.
That's great. It's really good to have those options, but also to have it structured in a way that makes sense to people using the tool. So that's really helpful to see how that all plays out. Obviously, AI is everywhere at the moment. It's a big topic for all of us in education and in ed tech. And I know it's been an important aspect of your development roadmap at Near Life. Can you tell us a bit more about how the AI features support interactive authoring?
Yeah, no problem. So there are kind of three areas we're involved with in terms of AI. We do have plans, I should say, in a fourth area in terms of data and analytics, how I can work there. But as of now, the way it works, if I just go back to this example we started with, you can see I went to add a new scenario here, but we have like, first of all, a tool that uses some AI functionality to make the designing easy. So if you have a good idea of what your structure is, and it's a classic branching narrative, then you can use this AI build. And what it will do, and you can obviously integrate, I mean, use other AI tools, get your ideas from ChatGPT, generate images elsewhere, whatever. The AI is everywhere. But in terms of the specific functionality, the interactions, you can create your scenario here. So if I say I'm going to have 7 outcomes, maybe I could have 2 choices per node. I'm going to stick with 3. And if I set a pass score, this will be between 0 and 100. So if I set it to 80 as the pass score, it will populate one of the options within all the choice or decision nodes with the scores to basically give you a total of 100. So it will distribute the scoring using that kind of rationale. But you've got that basic diagram structure, but then I can edit it very quickly. So maybe I just want to have 2 choice nodes. Maybe I want 2 endings, and then if I then decide I want to have buttons or hotspots, or perhaps both, so maybe this one is going to be hotspots, and this one is also going to be hotspots, then I can get this basic structure and I can generate it, and it will build it out for me. So if you have if you've kind of put the thinking into the structure, then the technical, if you like, the technical difficulty of building your interactive diagram is very, very reduced through having this. You would still need to upload the media, still need to drag and drop it in, but this is obviously can be quite labor intensive, even though our tool does make it as simple as possible, I would say. But you still need to kind of build out, create the links, and the AI builder there will do that all for you. So you've got your structure in place. The other area that we have for AI is with image generation. So we actually have this like mini adventure game that we use. It's kind of like to teach some of the game-based design things we were doing earlier, but these are all images that are generated in our AI image generator. So the thing is, if I put I can give a little prompt here, and then I can choose an existing character. So you'll see in a moment in this mini game, you can have recurring characters. So you can use this function to, I'm just going to return to save time here. But and you can get detailed here, have a secondary prompt, like for additional information, negative things you want to avoid. And put say instead of sat, but should still get something. So we get those images, so we can save those and add them to the library. So basically, you can either use your AI images to storyboard to kind of give stakeholders a sense of what an interactive experience might be, or you can, you know, again, you can pick the style, fantasy art, you know, all these different pixel art, different styles, or you can make kind of an interactive, almost graphic novel style experience just using the AI. So this game here is a little bit like that in that I can start the game, so I can accept the quest here by asking this guy what he wants, go to next. So he's offering me 3 gold coins for the quest. So it works with achievements and conditions. We've been through those already, but I'm going to accept them. I get the pop-up information. You can see I've got the coins in my inventory. But the main thing is you will see this guy is a recurring character, and there's other scenes where you've got a recurring character. So that's another aspect of AI, the image generation. So it does, again, lower the barrier to getting started in terms of creating your first projects. The third area, I was just opening this earlier, is around the creation of designing your own chatbot. So this is one actually that was this was done for International Women's Day. It was just an internal project we had, but you've got the ability to ask a series of influential, famous women from history some advice around negotiating equal pay. So you can see here the list. But what you can do is, so Harriet Tubman here, or we've got, you know, Amelia Earhart, whoever it is, you can give a welcome message here, but you can also define the character, what their role is, gender, personality type. You can give additional details, specific knowledge they might have. So effectively, you can design your own chatbot, and they can act either as a character within a scene. So they might have specific role to play in terms of interactions within a part of an overall scenario or game you're creating, or they may be a guide that exists across the whole scenario, and you can ask them advice and questions as you go. So in this case, I can start this scenario. It's telling me the context here that I'm a project manager again. This is built using the AI images with a bit of animation on top. And then if we go next, then I can ask anyone here. So I'm going to ask Maya Angelou about how I'm going to I can negotiate a fair pay rise there. And then you can also limit the length of the response, but she's going to speak in a certain way. It will draw on both in these cases, they're all famous historical figures, so it will draw on the knowledge of the learning it has combined with your prompts and your structure that you've given to the character. So this is the kind of the third element of AI. And as I say, there are some things around analytics we'd like to do in terms of interpretive stuff with AI, but those are at the moment the 3 core areas: the AI design element of the interactivity, the AI image generation, and then the AI character design.
That's great. Thanks, Mike. I think I would like any of those women's advice on negotiating a pay rise. So that's I might have to play that game at some point. So we've got one more area that we want to look at, but just before we go into that, and just a reminder to those of you joining us in the webinar that we are able to take questions. I see we've got a couple of things coming in. So if you have any questions, please do pop them in the Q&A box, and we will make sure we get to them before the end of the session. But before we move to Q&A, I want to talk a little bit about the integration with Moodle, because that's why I'm here. So now we've got a sense of how to create this interactive and immersive content in near life. Do you think you could talk us through how the integration with Moodle works?
Yeah, sure. I think Josette, you had something lined up to illustrate how the integration works.
Yeah, you can share near life content with Moodle as a web link, as an embedded video, using the iframe code. You can download a SCORM package. But some of the features, because it relies on this live connection to our servers, you could lose some of the features in a sort of downloaded zip format. So what we recommend and what we think is best, especially with working with Moodle, is using the LTI connection. So I'm going to share my window and just show you. So I'm in the sandbox, Moodle sandbox, just to keep everything anonymous with our users. But so I'm in the edit mode and I've got this course that I set up. And here I've got a VR example already set up. But in this cybersecurity, to really quickly add an activity or resource, I've created already some LTI assets. So inside administration, you go to plugins, you go to external tool, and manage tools. And you could create an LTI connection from our platform directly into Moodle. And here are two that I've already created. So the VR one's already added to the course, and I'm going to show you how to add this cybersecurity example. So I'll go back to the courses and edit. Sorry, I'll go back to the course and add an activity. And I've set it to appear as an activity or resource when you come into this area. So here is the cyberspace LTI package. I'll give it a name. So Lost in Cyberspace, I'll just call it the same. And I'll have a description. You can display the description. All of these settings you'll be familiar with as Moodle users. You can allow the near life package to be, to add grades in the grade book. If there's a pass score, you can add it there. I think it's 40 for this one. And then we can add, all of the settings are the same. You can add completion conditions. So with LTI, it will tell you if a score is available. It will deliver the score from near life to Moodle so that you can set your pass scores and you can set your completions. So activity is completed when you either view the activity or in this case receive a grade. And then you can set it any grade or passing grade. So I'll just leave it any grade. Save and return to course. So you can see that it's here now. So if I come out of edit mode and I launch Lost in Cyberspace, and you can set it to either be embedded in the course or you can have it come up in a new window. It's entirely up to you and how you want the learning to be. But you can see here that we gamified cybersecurity experience that was built by one of my colleagues using, I think, Beyond templates. And it's all around cybersecurity, trying to make a more fun and memorable experience. So just as an example, I asked what a question, we'll say a pen test. And it's just confirming that I'm correct. I'll refresh that. And like Mike was saying, I'm just refreshing it so that it stops playing. As Mike was saying, you can also launch VR learning in Moodle from near life. Again, definitely for this, you would need to use the LTI because it is a web VR experience, so it needs to be connected. This is just a shortened version of the example that he was showing you. If I click play, you can see you can move within the space. But if you click VR, that will launch the VR experience in a headset. And again, you can move around. It's 180, so we can't see from the back. So it makes the learning super versatile, and you could launch VR straight from the Moodle course in a headset or on the desktop like I'm doing here. If someone's on their mobile, then they would just move the mobile. And if they they use the finger on the mobile, and if they launched VR in a mobile, it would do the split screen so they could put it into a cardboard box. And then they would select by moving their head with what we call gaze input. So it gets very dramatic, this example. So I'm going to escape from that and I'll refresh. If I had completed it, this would have marked it as complete, and you would be able to see the grades in the gradebook. That's just a super quick example or demo of how Near Life and Moodle work together. And to set up your external asset, we go to plugins and we go to external tool, manage tools, and you can add it here. And basically what LTI asks you for from Near Life is a secret and a key that you just copy and paste into Moodle. And from our share screen, you would share this launch, LTI launch URL. And what you would be able to see in Near Life, if I had completed the experience, Near Life would track all the interactions and you'd be able to see what that learner had done. So if I go into show plays, we have a failed, it shows you, it tracks what the person has done. This person failed because probably ended too soon here. So that's pretty much it. You know, once you've created your scenario and published it, it takes less than 5 minutes for you to take it from Near Life and put it in Moodle.
That's amazing. Thanks so much. And thanks to both of you for a great demo of Near Life. And we do have some questions that we can answer now. And because you were just talking about LTI, I'm going to go to Jonathan Cook's question first. He says, not being terribly familiar with LTI, how much of a detailed report can you pull in regards to the learner's actions / interactions when using in Moodle Workplace? I think you may have touched on that just now, Joseph, but is there anything else you can share on that?
So I think what Near Life would send to Moodle would be the pass and the grade, and obviously the learner's details. But what you would be able to see on the Near Life side would be all the decisions that the learner made, how quickly they made those decisions, because it tracks in seconds, you know, how quickly, if that's important to you, if you're doing sort of like that VR learning experience, it's really about responding in the moment. So some of our partners want to see how quickly do people respond. I know for other things it's not as important, but it would track all of that for you. And what our university partners who do the nursing scenarios in Moodle, they ask their students, that report that you see at the end, you can download as a PDF, and they ask their students to download that and bring it to sort of a discussion group. So everyone does the learning online, but then in workshops on campus, they go through the different responses that people made and the outcomes that they saw.
And just to add on that, because we are in the middle of this at the moment in terms of development, but we do, as Joseph mentioned, offer different ways of integration. I mean, LTI offers you the basics with the score, the pass, you know, what people have done, but we are expanding our XAPI capacities at the moment because obviously, as you've seen, our tool is really built around the idea of interactions and engagement. And as of now, XAPI as a standard is the best in that space. So we are getting that ability to have richer data. So again, and we're as part of the Moodle community, we're obviously always keen to work with people and explore ideas of how they're using data. Because again, with the interactivity at the heart of our tool, you do have the opportunity to gather quite rich data and information. So that is really a priority for us at the moment, improving the way that can be tracked and shared, and you can get richer detail in whichever format you need it.
Thank you. We have another question from Kenji related to LTI, who asks, when connecting via LTI, would that be LTI 1.3 / advantage?
So we have that on test. To be honest, most of the users we have at the moment are looking for 1. There's kind of like, as Moodle users will be familiar with, there's a kind of critical mass around adoption. So we do have the capacity that we've not pushed it live, but but if that was a particular, again, it's kind of, some of our development is very much based on dialogue with users and our community. It's same as Moodle, and we push through features based on the demand.
Great. Kenji's also interested in AI, and they've asked, what's the underlying AI model powering the platform?
So our the chatbot which is the and presumably the element he's looking at is Llama 3. It's Meta's open source AI model. So that's what's used kind of as the basics, and then effectively you're structuring your prompting. What we've done is like built it in simple terms, a program on top of that that allows you to tap into the capabilities of the larger language learning model and then define it in a way that supports your character.
While we're talking about chatbot, there's also a question here about how much information can you add as a reference point, i.e. a RAG repository?
So you can add quite a bit. You've seen in those entry points. Again, that's another phase that we're looking at with that you could upload documentation, everything from files to videos to like, company guidelines. We want to allow people more capacity to train. Right now, you can add a lot of information, but it's like really, I would describe it as very detailed prompting in the kind of what you saw on the side there in terms of the different fields where you can input and define the role, define the knowledge, etc. So you can add a lot, but we do want to enhance that even further to make it very specific for specific information that wouldn't perhaps be publicly available, as I say, like company guidelines or like that WHO project, there's specific Blue Book guidelines that's adapted from. Maybe you want to upload the source material for that, for example, so it's an evolving process, as with everything, not just with technology, but with AI as well.
Right. We have a couple of questions or a couple of people interested in accessibility. So curious how Nearlife handles content and making sure content meets accessibility guidelines.
So again, the tool itself meets WCAG guidelines. I think I saw in the questions about the public sector stuff. We do have a lot of public sector users. We are used by a number of like government agencies, the World Food Programme users, a lot of people who are kind of really big on this type of stuff. We work with a group here in the UK, the Digital Accessibility Centre, to define best practice around this type of interactive content authoring and provide guidelines for content creation. So, and I think I saw the question in the Q&A on this. Obviously, a lot of it is in the hands of the content creator. But we, you can have subtitles, you can use keyboard, you can have audio files, you can create an alternate pathway for different users. So you can, I would say that, given that it's a video-based tool and there are going to always be some limitations, we do put the accessibility really at the heart of things. We've done quite a bit of work in this space. And again, we have a lot of public sector users, and it's again always an ongoing process. You always want to improve, but that is very important to us and the tool and our users.
And Lynn and Masana have asked some questions around comparison with other products. So they'd like to know how Nearlife compares with Adobe Articulate 360 and with H5P in terms of interactive video and branching scenario options.
Well, I mean, if you're familiar with other tools, you would then see how ours is slightly different. So I would say what's unique about our platform is really it is a game design platform first. That is really the origins of where we come from, designing and building interactive games. So you just have more flexibility in terms of how you design, adding in things like the time specific elements, the default outcomes, having the pathways. So it's the gamified simulation elements that I think make it different. And so if you're looking to do this in a quick way and you're looking to really scale interactivity, build a lot of these type of scenarios, interactive experience, then it should make things a lot simpler and easier. And as I say, the features are, we are immersive content, gamified content first. That's really the heart of what we do.
And I think related to that, there's a question asking you to expand on what types of question types and activities are supported within the Nearlife scenario. So can you give us a little bit more information on that?
Yeah, I tried to show some of the interactions, some of the options really around the overlays earlier. The overlays are at the heart of the design process with our tool. But within that, you can kind of introduce quiz-based activities. You can have, you've got the ability to have text input, but how to say it, you are really designing the interaction and deciding what happens. You can have multiple questions on a single scene. You could have the navigated branching structures. You can have, the achievements and conditions to build in, like critical elements within a more complex game. So it's very easy to build things like game room experience. You can have, the branching experience that I've shown. So it's really how to say it, really the tool is very much about empowering the designer to build the experience that they want. So it's not like a traditional authoring tool and that may add a quiz, do that. It's more, you can have multiple interactions that you can build a kind of an experience with. But you can do all those things like add quizzes or navigate here or do next or whatever. You can make it, people use it for interactive presentations through to, as I say, quite complex games and simulations.
Right, thank you. Jonathan's responded to his previous question. So I don't know if this is something we can answer or show today, or whether this is something to pick up with him afterwards, and noting that he's in healthcare as well, which of course is an area that you have experience in. I mean, saying, do you have a sample of the data we could expect to see for learner interaction when looking at the Near Life site? So that's kind of going back to that, what are the reporting capabilities? What would you see in terms of knowing what your learners had done in the system?
Yes, so you could do. So if I just go to a very, very simple one, so you get the, if you use LTI, use SCORM, whatever integration you use, you're able to communicate that people have completed it, have they passed or failed. But if you, as Josette was showing when she showed the LTI integration, we do have like this really basic demo I showed you earlier, this hotspot demo. There's just a couple of choices, but you can. This is the work we're doing at the moment around XAPI and the analytics. So you do get this data within our tool. So Josette mentioned some universities. Some universities actually will do they will integrate if it's part of a wider course within Moodle and have it as part of a online course, etc. But some maybe just create a scenario for a particular class, have people sign in with the name, and then track the data in here as well. So you can get a breakdown of this aggregated information of what everyone has clicked. So some people use this in live discussions, so you can see the overall completion rate, and then every single play is tracked in our tool, so it's anonymized. We just pass the information to Moodle or the platform where it's embedded, and then here, though, you do have, if you've got the name, and LTI will pull the name through, you can look at this individual user. So you get quite a detailed breakdown of the learner journey they've been on. And we didn't have time to show you all the features, but there are things like you can have a notes function. So, if you've made notes, that will also be tracked here. If you have a question that requires a text input response, that would appear here at the point that you input it. So you do get this detailed journey for each individual user. So hopefully that helps. You've got the basic standards: pass, fail, score, complete, not complete. But then we offer this journey, and it's this type of information that tracks interactions that we feel we can expand the XAPI capabilities to support the level of detail that can be shared in other systems, but you do still have this core information here.
Thanks, Mike. That's great. And when a scenario has been developed, Kenji is asking, can an editable version be downloaded or shared with other near-life instances?
So we have a Teams function. So enterprise users, you can have multiple seats and you can invite people as editors, and those seats can kind of be moved around. So you can have an editor on one project and move them around, then move that seat to another person. And you can send preview versions. So there is a way to do it online. You can share a preview link online. Once you download it, it's not editable in that it would need to be in the system, but you would have the original version. So if you're sharing something that has been downloaded, then you can get notes on that and have it fed back into the live version. But the structure and the design is on the cloud platform, so that is where the changes would be made and implemented. But you can, as I say, invite, if you've got a Teams account, you can invite different users as an editor. And so I think that is another area where we've paid quite a bit of attention to, is the storyboarding element with the visuals, the design visuals. You can use the AI builder to create the storyboard. You can use your AI images to design. You can just use basic slides, or even this text function where you can just add basic text to describe what happens. So if you were sharing a complex project with stakeholders, you can get a good idea of how the whole thing will work without necessarily having to have done the work in creating more complex media like filmed videos or videos in a tool like Beyond or Synthesia or Moodle, whatever it might be. You can kind of lock down the concept and how the interactions work before you commit the time to the creation of the actual media.
Great, thank you. Returning to AI briefly, we have a question on the AI image generation. Do you have the ability to ensure consistency between images, e.g. having the same character appear in each scene?
Yes, you do have that. Maybe I didn't do a good job of explaining, but when I was showing earlier this game, you can see like this guy is a recurring character. When I play this, I click on him and I go to next. You can see it's the same character in a different image. So you've got the ability in the AI to store as a character. So if you've got a character you want to appear throughout the sequence or through a particular scene, maybe a couple of images, you can have a recurring character. So in the short answer is yes.
Great. And just while we're on the subject of AI, there's another sort of more detailed question around the AI builder component. Kenji says they can see that you can define the style and number of choices, etc., which a system produces. What's the AI component in the generation?
So the AI bit is really fairly simple bit in that particular model. It's more like kind of the wizard end of the AI, but in terms of the interpreting of the score-based elements and the bits that you can't see yet that are not, we are going to have the prompt-based element of the design. It will evolve as the builder evolves in terms of the level at which you could prompt it. So it's kind of in the generative AI space, but in diagram based.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. That's really helpful. That is all the questions that we have. We have a comment here from Kurt, I think, rather than a question, but just to finish us off, Kurt says, it seems easy to learn, but like the added grading availability in Moodle, as well as tracking for video watching completion. So a comment there from Kurt. I think that pretty much takes us to time. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us and for your great questions. There's obviously lots of interest in near life, so it's good to be able to delve into that in a little bit more depth. And also, obviously, huge thanks to Mike and Jessette for taking us through the product and answering those questions so ably. It's been a great pleasure for me to be here. It's not often that I get to really delve into a product in this way, so I've been delighted to be here and to see that demo as well. And obviously, please do get in touch with the Near Life team if you want to follow up on anything that we've discussed today. So thank you all. We appreciate you being here, and we hope to be in touch with you soon.